dark feminine energy. This is a podcast episode that I have waited a long time to do. It's as if I've had to wait to be, prepared, sit in the cooker long enough to be able to get out of the way enough to bring through a conversation on like the truth of dark feminine energy, the depths of it, some of the more hidden mysteries or the things that we don't talk about around dark feminine energy. My aim and my feeling, I'm hoping we do this, is to go far below the surface conversations around dark feminine energy. My other aim is to get so out of the way that it's more and more of just dark feminine energy moving through this conversation than it is Sabrina essence moving through this conversation. So who is this for? That's maybe a good place to start. Who is this conversation for? It's really for anyone who has any kind of curiosity around the dark goddess in any form, right? Kali, Lilith, Durga, Medusa, the list can go on and on. For anyone who's feeling to reclaim their own feminine, the fullness of their feminine. For anyone who's looking at shadow work, the integration of shadow, feminine specific shadows. It doesn't have to be feminine specific. The dark goddesses are innately shadow workers. They're very good at alchemizing the shadow, helping us to integrate those repressed, oppressed parts of self, and also opening us to golden shadow, like the hidden gifts and wisdom that's held in our shadows. It's for anyone who's dancing with the dark feminine in another, right? So it might be your partner, your boss, your friend, your lover, your family member is very connected to dark feminine energy, and you're looking to understand it or dance with it in a more harmonious kind of way. So really and truly, anyone called to the dark feminine or the dark goddess in any way, shape, or form, whether that be in the embodiment of it through yourself or the dancing with it in the world around you. What are we gonna do in this video, this conversation? I don't know, because I'm getting out of the way as much as I can, but my sense is we're going to talk about what is dark feminine energy. It's kind of a must to get into this. The gifts of dark feminine energy, like why? Why work with this energy? Why? What does it bring you? What is the power behind it? What are these feminine mysteries? These dark goddess mysteries. We'll talk about the dark goddess archetypes, a few anyways, because I think it will give us a fuller picture of dark goddess energy. And then definitely, after all of that, we'll go into how to awaken or embrace or dance with, how to really work with dark goddess energy. Yeah. This is going to be one hell of a ride. Before I go into it, I have worked with dark feminine energy for a decade, outside of myself, right? Prior to that, it was a lot of work with myself, and in intimate relationship, intimate partnership. And then the last 10 years has been really holding that space for others to awaken, access their own dark feminine energy. Sometimes in women's circles, sometimes in in-person retreats, sometimes in online programs, sometimes more in the realms of the sacred union, like the dark feminine and dark masculine union. Sometimes it's more in the embodiment, someone really working to embody their own dark feminine, to let's just call it clean it up, let it purify you. That's a big part of what this energy does, is it's a purifier. It's a truth bomber. It's a purifier. It aligns you with deep truth. So working in that way, and then also working with others who are really learning to dance with dark feminine energy and what that kind of activates in yourself if another is really expressing, or the world around you is really expressing dark feminine energy. So I feel like finally at this point in my life, with my life experiences, I have something I can maybe share. I feel like I've been cooked maybe just long enough to be able to talk about it. I know that there's more cooking, more fermenting, more stewing in the mysteries of the feminine, but I feel like there's at least something that I can share with you that you maybe haven't heard, seen, felt, known before. Let's feel, where do we start? Let's start with a little bit more of an exploration around what is dark feminine energy. It can be expressed in many ways. There are many, many, many flavors to dark feminine energy. I was listening to some beautiful young woman talk about dark feminine energy, and she was talking about one aspect of dark feminine energy, and it's the one that I think is, like the most attractive to most of us, and it's the sexual. It's the dark sexual, the seductive, the siren, the opening up to like your wild woman sexuality, your dark feminine seductive essence, and that's definitely a part of the dark feminine. Hell yeah, that's a beautiful part of the dark feminine, but it ain't all the dark feminine. So maybe we'll just kind of talk about this in different threads, and the way to do that is really through the archetypes. Is a great way to talk about like different threads held within the dark feminine energy, within the dark goddess. So you can just go into dark goddesses and you start to feel into it. So if you were to go with the like seductive, dark, feminine, sexual essence, you would look at goddesses like Lilith, right? Lilith is such a great archetypal energy for sexual liberation, sexual freedom, sexual healing, really opens up doors to that. Then let's hop over into another thread or coloring or flavor of dark feminine energy, and that would be more like medicine woman witch dark feminine, like Hecate, right? And that comes more with like magic, right? The magic, Hecate, known as Queen of the Witches. And so when you start working in that territory, you start working with the more like natural, primal side of the feminine. Still dark feminine energy, right? But it's more around the death, birth, cyclical nature of life, of the feminine, right? Hecate works in blood mysteries, in midwifery, right? Like with the earth, with the plants, with herbs, right? Like spellcaster, that's Hecate energy. And that's very much dark feminine energy as another kind of aspect of dark feminine. Maybe if we go over to another thread, I mean, we could keep going through many, many, many threads of this dark feminine energy, but I'll kind of just try to give us enough of a broad spectrum to paint a full-ish picture of dark feminine energy. Otherwise, we'd be here for a week. But another flavor of dark feminine energy is more along the spiritual lines, more along the lines of ego slayer, right? This would be like Kali, like ego slayer, demander of soul truth, right? That's another aspect of dark feminine, this real capacity of the feminine to be an oracle for someone's absolute soul path, soul truth. That's part of what that thread of dark feminine energy. And it's like, I will stop at nothing to give you your everything. That's that kind of thread. Really able to cut through the personality, the egoical structures, and take a person deeper into their true self, It's a beautiful aspect of the dark feminine. If we were to move over to another aspect of the dark feminine, it would be shadow workers, healing capacities. It would be Black Madonna is kind of who comes to mind over here, where it's like this capacity of the dark feminine to love the seemingly unlovable. Love the seemingly unlovable, love the dark. Can I love the dark, the seemingly dark, not dark bad, but dark ostracized, dark that's been demonized, that's been kicked out of society, that's been judged harshly? Can I love that? Can I love that in myself, right? That flavor of the dark feminine brings self-love, self-acceptance to a degree that many of us haven't experienced, right? So that's a bit about what is dark feminine energy. And maybe here's a cool reflective thing to do for yourself is to just take a minute and feel into which of those four, again, there's more, but that's kind of maybe the main four, I would say. Which of those four really sings to you in this moment? Just which of the four, and then you can kind of see which dark goddess energy is calling to you even, right? So if it's that first, like the sexual energy, like the dark sexual energy, and that's really singing to you, well, that's like Lilith. Medusa's really glorious over there too. Persephone has a little bit of that flavored in her archetypal energy that you can tap into. So, just for your own reference and your own feels. And then if it's kind of that next category, you start to talk about Hecate, right? Like when you start to move into like medicine woman, I'm really called to like blood mysteries. I'm really called to ceremony. I'm really called to ritual. I'm really called to spell casting, witch, sorcery, earth, like the cyclical nature, death, rebirth, midwifery, like that kind of aspect. Then that would, maybe a girl is Hecate. And there's more archetypal energies there, but just feel for you. You can also go into the face of the medicine woman. That's powerful. Then if we move over again, there's the, sorry, I just have all of these archetypal energies like dancing in my being, and it brings me just great joy to feel, to be able to share this much of the feminine essence with you all. So thank you for being here, because I wouldn't be doing this if you weren't here. So just thank you. This is beautiful to be having this conversation with you. So this next category is the kind of ego slayer. Really when someone's ready to deepen into an embodied spiritual path, oftentimes this shows up, right? Taking your spiritual path to the next level, taking further steps toward true self, right? True soul self. What did my soul come here to do? How can I get my ego out of the way? How can I get my absorbed conditioning out of the way? How can I get my masks out of the way, the roles that I'm expected to play out of the way, to deepen into what it is that I truly came here to do? That is one of the greatest gifts of dark goddess energy, is really taking someone to their true core essence. And then, so that we talked about is Kali, ego slayer. And then if we go over again, we talked about this like self-love, self-acceptance, this loving the seemingly unlovable capacity. This, like, if we talk about integration of shadow, it's that which has been rejected, right? That which has been rejected, parts of self that have been rejected, people within society that have been rejected. This is where dark feminine energy comes in, and it's like, no. That part of self too can be loved, right? That shadow aspect that we rejected about ourselves, that too I can love. That too, full acceptance, full love for that too. And we talked about that as Black Madonna. And of course, there's more, right? There's more in all of these categories, but just something to start with, right? This is, we could be here, on a retreat, an in-person retreat for months, diving into the depths of the dark feminine mysteries, and the dark goddess archetypal energies. So that's a good little recap and something for you to feel into. Just what are you called to? There was another aspect. Oh yeah, this is the other aspect around, maybe we'll dive into. So I said we were going to talk about what is dark feminine energy. Then believe. I said we were going to talk about why. Why would you want to work with dark feminine energy? What does it bring to you? What are the gifts that are held there? And we started touching on those, of course, and what is dark feminine energy, but some of the gifts. This is one that I didn't necessarily talk about above, and it's dark goddess energy really brings us into healthy relationship with the world around us, right? So what does that mean? She has this capacity to really help us to create healthy boundaries, right? Like, and a healthy no, a discernment, that's not for me. I need more space. You've crossed a boundary. You've actually moved into a place that is inappropriate for your energy to be, right? She's really good at that. So for anyone who has, challenges with boundaries, where do I end and you begin? I don't know, when someone crosses a boundary, I feel like I get stepped on all the time, or I get walked over all the time. Dark goddess energy is glorious. For helping us to be very discerning. She really helps us with discernment of what is good, what is in the highest good, right? And if it's in the highest good for ourselves, it's in the highest good for everyone. That's part of what dark goddess gifts us with, is this real discernment, real eagle eye, real knowing. She really taps you into deep knowing. All right, that's part of what dark feminine energy is it's deep knowing and its ability to stand in that deep knowing amidst outside pressure, right? It's a deep knowing. I know what I know. I don't know how I know it, but I know it, right? It's deep intuition. She'll awaken intuition like it's nobody's business, right? And so she'll awaken that intuition and you just know, but you don't need proof. She gives you this strength, this courage, you just are so steeped in knowing that you don't need facts or figures or like weird proof. You just fucking know. And you know so deeply, so truly, so strongly, because you're so connected. You have this relationship to the world where you just know. It is a very deep, deep, deep relationship to the all of everything, to life. That's the feminine, is this deep, intimate relationship with life, this deep respect for life. You learn the laws of life, right? That's part of dark feminine energy, is she really awakens. It's not even that you learn them. It's not a heady thing. She awakens the laws of life within you, right? She awakens the laws of life within you. You literally learn how to start working with life force energy that moves through the whole world. Like, that's pretty fucking powerful. It's probably why it's so hidden and we have to work so hard to reclaim it, and why there's so much purification that comes with it, because there's so much power. There is so much power in this dark feminine energy. It is the most powerful force in the feminine, is in the dark feminine energy. It has the power to destroy, right? Like, it is the death birth energy. It is the energy to destroy and to create, right? It's the energy to bring death and to bring birth. That's one of the dark feminine mysteries and gifts, and it's a knowing, a gnosis that she awakens in you, right? A lot of this wisdom, it's not stuff you're going to read in a book. It's not heady. It literally wakes up in you and you live it. It's like living wisdom, right? It's a living wisdom that lives in you when it wakes up in you. That's what she brings, right? And it's this living wisdom around life, around life, and around the fact that the divine is in everything. The divine is steeped in everything. This world is dripping in perfection. It's dripping in creator essence. It's dripping in the divine. The sacred is everywhere. That's part of the wisdom that she instills. It's an embodied divinity, right? That's the feminine. It's embodied. It's heaven is right here, right now. It's not transcending the body, it's divinizing the body, right? That's the feminine. All right, what else is she bringing? I know I'm going off like really deeply in that spiritual thread. So remember, that's just an aspect of dark feminine energy. Maybe this is a good moment to say, obviously, I think at this point in the conversation, we know dark is not bad, but dark can be referred to as what's hidden, right? Dark, what's hidden in the feminine. When did things get hidden in the feminine? Why are things around the feminine hidden? Why is this feminine energy hidden? Well, maybe because it's been judged, maybe because it's been demonized, right? Maybe because we've been taught to fear it. This starts to point to what resides in dark feminine energy, and it starts to point to what's required to awaken it within self and to embody it, and then to express it outside of ourselves into a world that potentially, most likely, still judges this aspect or these aspects or these gifts that are held within these deeper, more hidden feminine places. I'll often talk in workshops about, some of the feminine mysteries had to go underground to stay safe. They had to go underground in our psyches. Like, yeah, there's many stories where the feminine mysteries did have to go underground because there was the burning of the witches or the killing off of entire tribes that held deep feminine mysteries. But beyond the physical stories of it and what happened in our world around it, it's in our psyche and in the collective what had to go into hiding. And we can even think about this in our lives. In our lives, like as a child, what aspects of your feminine nature had to go into hiding because you weren't given love when you expressed them. Like, I know I was a little oracle. I was a little visionary. I could talk to the other side. And I had twin sisters who passed before they were born. They came just after me in the birthing order. And I spoke to them when I was a little one. Like, I could very easily talk to the other side. I didn't think it was weird. I didn't think anything of it. It was just like, oh, there's Mary and Marie, my twin sisters. And I'd have like a little chat with them, right? Until I spoke it and chaos ensued. And I learned very quickly to shut that down, right? To turn that off, because that did not bring me love or acceptance in my family system. That brought me quite the opposite, right? So think about some of these innate gifts that you maybe had as a kid, or these parts of self that we're starting to express, like, I am an extraordinarily emotional being, and my emotions hold so much wisdom, so much wisdom. They are telling me so many things that my thoughts don't go to, but my emotions carry this wisdom, and I was taught to shut those off as a kid. That's part of, so that became, for me, my personal story, that became part of dark feminine energy. Can you see where this is headed? Let me speak it very clearly to where this is headed. Dark feminine energy for you will be unique to you, right? Dark feminine energy for me, those are just two little pieces, right? One was like the medicine woman gift. I had like oracle, visionary, ability to talk to the unseen realms as a kid. Shut that down. That was repressed in myself, like closed down. And then the reclamation of that, right? The reawakening of that in myself was, at that point in my life, it had become dark feminine energy. Now, it never needed to be dark feminine energy. It was considered then dark feminine energy myself because it was hidden. It was considered dark feminine energy in my family. But you may have grown up in a place where that's so accepted. And so it's never dark. It's actually considered light. Can you see how topsy-turvy this gets, right? How it's not dark. What is maybe dark for you is not dark for the person next to you. And how dark is completely fluid and ever changing, right? It's what is hidden. It's what has been repressed. And some of the ways that we can access this is through goddess energy, is through these archetypal myths, because there are these like patterned imprints, right, of like Lilith. So many of us can relate to the Lilith story, right? It's like the fullness of my sexual essence. It's just an energy. And it's beautiful, but then it's been judged and it's been criticized, and I've had to shut it down, or someone's wanted to own it, or they've wanted to use my sexual energy for something, or I used it for something, right? Like I would use it to get my way with something, or all of this like twisted, knotted, manipulated sexual energy. And so we can work in these archetypal energies to awaken that particular thread of self. It's a thread of self, right? Like, yeah, Lilith is outside of you, but also within you, as above, so below. And so you can open that up. And when you work with that, what you want to do with dark feminine energy, here's the key. You ready for this? Here's the key. If dark feminine energy is whatever is hidden in you, now here's the thing, some of it you won't even know because it's not from this lifetime. Some of it's collective. Some of it's past life. Some of it's ancestral. You don't even know. So here's the beautiful, wild part about it, is you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what's there. You don't know the gifts that are there. You don't know the healing that can bring. You don't know how much that can change the way that you relate, how much that will change your sex life, how much that will change your career path, how much that will change the amount of power you can wield through money, right? How much that will change your relationship to money, to abundance. Like, you just have no idea. That's part of the beautiful, glorious journey and adventure that is working with the dark feminine, right? That's a gift of it. And it's this glorious adventure because I can't tell you what's there. You don't know what's there. No one knows what's there. But you go there and it reveals. She reveals herself to you. She reveals the specific gifts that you're meant to open to, the specific blueprint of feminine energy that you're meant to open to. That's what it is. That's what this path is. I heard someone on a dark feminine energy video say, dark feminine energy is Angelina Jolie. No, Angelina Jolie is Angelina Jolie. And the way dark feminine energy expresses through her is her unique blueprint, right? Now, she does it in a very sexual way, a very Lilith way, right? She's very deeply connected to Lilith arcs. That's beautiful. Still Angelina Jolie, right? Marianne Williamson has a lot of dark goddess energy. Marianne Williamson is extraordinarily different to Angelina Jolie, right? She doesn't come out, she's in politics. She doesn't come out with the sexual part, right? She comes out with the fierce truth. She comes out with the Kali sword of truth, right? Like, let's live soulful here. Let's live soulful here. She comes out with the Black Madonna. Let's love the unlovable. What are we doing? Right? Two beautiful examples of how two beautiful women express dark feminine energy out into the world. And so I think if there's anything I can kind of say around this is it's that you will do it your unique way. You will do it it will beautifully, gloriously, uniquely express through you. Maybe it will be strong sexually, maybe not, right? Maybe it will be strong truth bombing, right? Truth, you are just a warrior for truth. Maybe not. That might not be your path. And part of the gift of working when you're authentically, deeply, truly working with goddess energy, right? With divine feminine energy, with dark feminine energy, and you're doing it in a way that you're given the space, right? To let it dance you, let it wake you up, let her gift you, let her show you, let her be your teacher, right? Not some human. You want her direct teachings, right? And when you're given that space, that's when your dark feminine energy blueprint comes online, right? Your unique wiring lights up. Your unique gifts come to the forefront. Your unique path with her, because there will be purifying, right? If this was repressed energy, let's talk about this for a minute. If dark feminine energy is that had to go underground, it had to go underground for a reason. So when it wakes up, there's oftentimes some rubble to work through, right? Like for me, we'll just go back to this little example that can hopefully help. For me, when I came back around in my early 30s to opening back up to, I don't know, speaking to the unseen, we'll just use those words, right? Speaking or accessing that which is beyond the veil, or, the other side of the veil, however we want to talk about it. I had to go through the trauma and the judgment around that, like, oh, this is bad. This is bad. So there's a purification of thought patterns that had to happen. There's a releasing of any emotions that come up around that, like fear. I'm afraid I'm going to lose love. If I tap back into this, I remember, my cells in my body remember what happened in my family system when I did that as a kid. That didn't pan out so well. Doing it now, and it's oftentimes much deeper than where the mind can go. It's like deep cellular memory. We hold it somewhere deep in our cells, deep in our body, and oftentimes the mind can't go there. So like body work is really good. Somatic work is really good. Breath work is really good. Things that take you beyond the mind are really good for moving through and giving space to the purification, right? So all the stuff that needs to be moved out so that I can tap back into that dark feminine energy gift, and I can give it cleanly, because if I give it and I still have fear, I will give it wonky, right? It's not coming out cleanly. That's the maturing. That's the maturation process. That's the purification process. And I like to call it dormant to, sometimes I call it distorted. We can call it developing if you feel like distorted is, but it is distorted. It comes out all distorted. It's like the energy is distorted. It's nothing like personal or bad. So don't take it that way, but it's dormant. The energy is just dormant, right? That oracle capacity, that medicine woman gift, those witch gifts in me, they went dormant. Then opened them up. They were distorted. So it would come out, but I couldn't see straight, or I couldn't communicate it without fear. Like it would start to switch back on, but I couldn't decipher it well. I couldn't have a clean conversation because there was too much fear in the way. There was too much judgment in the way. There was too much whatever in the way. So the picture was distorted. And then you work through the rubble, you move that out of your system, right? And that's purification. That's sometimes like dark night of the soul type shit, right? That's, you're crying out like deep held grief. You're raging out anger because you shut that down and you realize, oh my God, I shut my power off. Oh my God, I shut my fucking power off. And all of this, any of that stuff is part of your power, right? Feminine is power. It's juju, it's life force, it's juice, it's aliveness, it's power, it's energy, right? And so all of these repressed things, that's all energy that's like stuck. And a lot of it we don't know. So I didn't know that I shut that down until I started working in that territory with medicine. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know. I had no idea I did that. Completely forgot that I did that, right? And then opened up to things that had nothing to do with this life. Nothing to do with this life. They're like the things that I came into this life with, right? It's like the karmic backpack that you came into this life with. There's a bunch in there. There's ancestral stuff that, again, has nothing to do with this life. There's ancestral, right? Ancestral stuff. It's wild territory. It's wild territory. Gosh. All right, let's go into, how do you, all right, Sabrina, this sounds good, like maybe you're at the point, or maybe you're at the point where you're like, no, not for me. But if you're at the point where you're like, there's something singing here. Sometimes the dark goddess calls us in interesting ways. It's not logical all the time, or left brain or linear. It's sometimes via excited terror. Like, I shouldn't say terror, it can be, but it's like nervous excitement is a lot of times the feel. Or I remember when I first started doing in-person workshops with Dark Goddess, I would hear a lot of women sharing, I don't know what called me here. I just knew I had to be here, right? That's a lot of like deep feminine speak. That's oftentimes how the feminine works. It's like more underground, undercurrents, energetic transmissions. And so it's like intuitive, trust your gut, right? These are all like feminine words, your sixth sense, right? And you just kind of just kind of a knowing. And yeah, so if you're feeling that in any way, let me see what I can share with you in this conversation around how to work in this territory. Archetypal accessing can be very powerful. We've talked a little bit about some of the different archetypes, and I'll leave it at that. But archetypal accessing, it would be like archetypal embodiment, working with the specific dark goddess energies, dark goddess. I would say for me, I have a very strong belief in just what I've seen in the world around feminine reclamation and dark goddess energy is it's much more experiential journeying with the feminine than it is reading a fucking book. Right? This is finding places where you can do embodiment work, where you can dance the energy, and the feminine is transmissions, right? It's Shakti, right? It's an alive, it's like life force energy, and that flavor of life force waking up in you, right? It's like the Shakti in me talks to the Shakti in you, the Shakti in you talks to the Shakti in me. And if you're around, if you're in a circle of, you know, other beings, and it's like everyone's in the Kali Shakti, that's gonna wake up your Kali Shakti, right? Because the Shakti talks to Shakti, and if it's dormant, it's knocking on that door. So feminine is very, you know, you hear those terms like activation. Here's an activation. It's the Shakti, it's the energy, it's a transmission. That's the feminine. Feminine also, so if we're talking dark feminine energy, it's also very body-based. Dark feminine often resides in the lower chakras. Dun dun dun! Working in the body, in the hips, in the bones, in the blood, in the belly, in the guts, in the womb, right? In the sexuality, sexual healing. Oh my God, that is some dark goddess territory, right? Real body-based in the lower parts of the body, right? The parts where we really store old stuff. That's beautiful territory for the feminine. Working, this is coming up for some reason, working with the primal essence of the feminine, with her, right? Like the very ground of being her, like the primordial ancient feminine that holds all of the goddess archetypes in her. That is a powerful place to work. Going into meditations with that, finding guided spaces, guided practices, workshops, retreats where you can go into that. Very powerful. Let's see, what else can I share with you? A commitment to truth. This is an easy one. This is one that you could do today, right? You don't need a guide or a sacred space or sacred practices or altered states of consciousness for this one. It's a commitment to truth. It's fierce, radical honesty with yourself, right? That's a dark goddess practice. Let me feel for a minute. I think that's where I'd maybe like to, I think that's where I'd maybe like to end our conversation on dark feminine energy. There's a free masterclass that I did. It's called 6 Faces of the Feminine. One of the faces is the dark goddess. Another face is actually the medicine woman. So you can kind of feel into those 2 different aspects. That's totally free. There's a link below. I think it's a 90-minute masterclass. There's also a dark goddess workshop that I did a while back. That's a way to tap in. We'll put a link to that below too if you're feeling like I'm in. I'm ready for an experiential journey into the dark goddess. That's a way to dive right in to actual practices, right? To embodiment practices, to those, to those activations within, waking that up within. Yeah, whew. I feel like this is just the start of a beautiful series on dark feminine energy. I have so much that I could go into around dark feminine energy. Here's what I would love if this feels right for you. Let me know what you would love to hear more about around dark feminine energy, right? Do you want to hear about Lilith? Do you want to hear about boundaries? Do you want to hear about Kali? Do you want to hear about the alchemy of shadows, right? Do you want to hear about loving the unlovable? What are you really wanting to hear more about around dark feminine energy? I'd love to hear in the comments what that is, because I feel like we just started. We've just begun this little adventure in our podcast around dark feminine energy. It's been an absolute honor to be here with you in this way, and I just send you so much love for your journey into dark goddess energy, dark feminine energy. All right. I will see you when I see you, where I see you, and how I see you.